and I orchestrated the fate of kingdoms while the world outside whispered secrets like rustling leaves. Imagine the scent of damp stone, the chill of the Red Keep creeping into your bones, and the oppressive weight of a power struggle looming above. I was Varys, the spider, and within the shadows of this ancient fortress, I held a truth that could bring kings to their knees. In the deep, echoing silence of the whispering chambers, I prepared to unveil a scandal that would change the course of Westeros forever. The flickering candlelight cast dancing shadows on the cold stone walls. In the dim, round room, children sat alert in the corners, their eyes wide and unblinking. They were my little birds, mute but ever watchful. "Listen, my doves," I murmured, my voice low and conspiratorial. "Each whisper must be collected, for knowledge is power." As they fanned out, the musty air filled with secrets, a lord's illicit rendezvous, a lady's hidden fears. The very walls had ears, and they listened as though eager for the next tale of betrayal or love. But I knew I was not the only one active in the shadows. Oh no, beneath the veneer of neutrality hid schemers that would drown the realm in chaos for power. And yet, amidst this web of deceit, I felt something else. A stirring in my gut. But that was nothing compared to what happened next. I leaned back in my chair, allowing my thoughts to race. My birds had returned, panting from the excitement of their flights. One clutched a crumpled note, the ink smudged with urgency. "A master of coin seeks to poison the Saris River," I murmured, my heart quickening. "To bring ruin upon the southern lands." The stench of betrayal hung thick in the air, like a miasma of fear. I pictured the farmers, their families clinging to fragile hopes while the grain prices plummeted into despair. It was a familiar dance, one I had seen play out too many times. He must be stopped, I told myself, the weight of their suffering pressing down upon me. But how? I felt like a surgeon without a scalpel, forced to use my cunning instead of a blade. The pieces began to fall into place, an intricate plot that only I could unfold. But who would believe me if I spoke too soon? The sun dipped below the horizon as I made my way through the damp hallways of the Red Keep. Every corner held a story, every shadow a secret. I could hear the distant laughter of courtiers reveling in ignorance, unaware of the storm brewing beneath their feet. There, in the darkness, I devised my plan. A letter, not from me, but from a lady of the court. An alluring missive filled with deceit. With the flick of my wrist and a careful touch, I enshrined the letter in the Lord's quarters. "You will play your part, my friend," I whispered into the silence, like a serpent slithering away after dropping its venom. The next dawn would bring a reckoning, one the kingdom would never see coming. But who truly controlled the game? Morning light flooded the chamber, revealing a sense of unease. The castle buzzed with whispers of the Lord who had vanished without a trace. My plan had worked, but I felt no satisfaction, only a hollow ache of dread in my chest. Would he suffer? Would his family weep? I wondered, grappling with the morality of my choice. I had saved countless lives, yet at what cost? Did I choose the right path? I questioned myself, casting my eyes upon the bustling market below. The voices of innocent men and women filled my ears, begging for survival. Could you stand still while someone screamed for help? Yet amidst this turmoil, the kingdom's fate tilted, and I knew change was upon us. And then I saw the truth. Days turned into weeks, and the whispers transformed into roars. The lords convened, each grappling for power. But I remained an enigma, the neutral spider spinning my web unseen. As I sat across from Tyrion Lannister, I could sense the curiosity radiating from him, his mind calculating my every move. "You control all of this," he stated boldly. "But why?" "The web does not wield a sword, my lord," I replied, my tone grave. "It holds chaos at bay." His eyes widened, realization dawning in the flicker of candlelight as he pondered my words. How fragile our world was, teetering on the precipice of destruction, overshadowed by greed and ambition. And yet, I trailed off, lost in the enormity of responsibility. If they only knew. Would you manipulate the fate of others to serve the greater good? What would you do if it was your child's life on the line? Could you be the hand that strikes in the dark, confident yet afraid? Eventually, the dust settled, but not without cost. The true poison lay not in the river, but in the hearts of men. The Lord had vanished, but I was left with the knowledge that I had saved thousands. A small victory, yet a heavy burden. But it wasn't the plague, it was poison. Betrayal sickened my soul, but I carried on, crushing my own fears underfoot, reminding myself of my purpose. In the shadows, I found meaning amidst the chaos. I had learned that the kingdom held not on brute strength, but on a delicate fear woven into the fabric of our reality. And in the shadow of death, I found life. As I reflect on my choices, I remain here in the depths of the Red Keep, amidst the echoes of power and whispers of fate. For those who dare to tread the path of intrigue, remember, knowledge is not simply the desire for power, it is the instinct to survive. If this story haunted you as much as it haunted me, subscribe to hear the next chapter of the hidden histories of Westeros, a world where every whisper can alter the course of fate. The dampness of the Castle Place's stones seeped into my bones as I pondered the intricate tapestry of lives I held in my grasp. In this web of whispers, I was both puppet master and captive, chained by the very secrets I wielded. The flickering torchlight painted eerie patterns on the walls, a reminder that even in darkness, shadows can conceal truths far more sinister than the lies spoken in daylight. The court is a stage, I reminded myself, and every actor plays their part, some willingly, others ensnared by fate. As I strolled through the echoing halls, I felt the weight of unseen eyes upon me. The lords and ladies of the court, draped in their fineries, danced to a tune only I could hear. Their laughter masked the tension that simmered like a cauldron about to boil over, each day bringing new alliances, crumbling old ones like brittle parchment. My little birds flitted about, spreading their wings to gather rumors that fluttered like moths in search of light. Every secret obtained was a weapon forged in the fires of ambition, each story a potential dagger aimed at a rival's heart. What will you whisper to me today? I asked the shadows, hoping for revelations that would quench my thirst for knowledge. The days stretched on, each filled with a sense of inevitability. I could feel the tide of change rising, a storm brewing just beyond the horizon. The ancient walls of the Red Keep had seen countless betrayals, but I was no ordinary player in this Game of Thrones. I was a master of manipulation, a haunt of unseen threads pulling at the coarse fabric of power. But at what cost? A voice whispered in my mind, the echo of guilt ringing louder with each new revelation. Who would pay the price for your machinations? My thoughts turned to the farmers by the Saris, to the families who depended on the bounty of their fields. Their lives were fragile, yet they were swept up in the grand designs of lords and ladies who saw them as mere pawns in their plots. I am not their savior, I reminded myself, but I can be the shadow that shields them. Days turned to weeks, and the tension within the Red Keep grew palpable. It was only a matter of time before the fragile threads I wove would snap, unleashing chaos in their wake. I could sense the unrest among the lords, each one plotting in dark corners, seeking to gain an edge over the others, thirsting for power like a starving man in a feast. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of crimson, I found myself in my chambers, pacing the length of the stone floor. My mind raced with strategies, each one more elaborate than the last. A sudden knock at the door interrupted my thoughts, and a familiar face entered. A young boy, no more than 10 summers, with dirt-smudged cheeks and eyes wide with fear. "My lord," he stammered, bowing his head. "I have news from the marketplace." I knelt down to meet his gaze, sensing the urgency in his voice. "What have you heard, my little bird?" He swallowed hard, his voice trembling. "They say the Master of Coin is plotting again. They whisper of rebellion, of lords rallying against the crown. There's talk of the river, of alliances forged in blood." My heart quickened. The murmur of discontent had finally reached a fever pitch. I straightened, my mind racing through the implications. If the Master of Coin sought to instigate rebellion, it could spell disaster for the realm. The very balance of power I had worked to maintain hung by a thread. "We must act swiftly," I declared, a plan forming in the depths of my mind. "Gather the others. I need to know all that you can find." And as the boy scampered off to deliver my orders, a sense of purpose surged through me. Tonight, I would not be merely a watcher in the shadows, I would be the hand that shaped the fate of kingdoms. Days melded into nights filled with urgency as I orchestrated a countermeasure against the brewing storm. My birds flew faster, gathering information from the whispers among the common folk to the hushed conversations of the lords. Each new piece of gossip was a revelation, a clue that helped me navigate the treacherous waters of court intrigue. I felt the pulse of the kingdom in my veins, a connection that deepened as I steered the course of events from behind the curtain. But how long could I maintain this balance? How long before the very shadows I commanded would turn against me? The whispers soon spiraled into a cacophony, and I found myself at the center of a web more intricate than I had anticipated. I had become the fulcrum upon which destinies hung, a precarious position that filled me with both exhilaration and dread. On the night when I finally summoned the lords to discuss the growing unrest, I felt the chill of anticipation coursing through the hall. Faces filled with apprehension entered the chamber, each one a player in this deadly game. "Welcome, my lords," I began, standing at the head of the table, the flickering torchlight casting shadows that danced like specters on the walls. "I have called you here to address the unrest brewing in our realm." Their eyes flickered with doubts and fears, each man weighing his own interests against the uncertainty hanging like a shroud. I could see the tensions, the unspoken accusations simmering beneath the surface. "The Master of Coin aims to incite rebellion," I continued, my voice steady. "But together we can quell the tide before it swallows us all." Gasps echoed through the room as I laid bare the information I had gathered. The lords shifted uncomfortably, the reality of their precarious positions finally dawning upon them. As I spoke, I could feel the power shift, my words weaving a new narrative. I was no longer merely the spider in the shadows. I had emerged as a leader, a figure of truth amidst chaos. "Betrayal is a poison," I said, locking eyes with the masters of coin seated at the table. "And we must be vigilant if we hope to preserve our kingdom." The discussions turned heated, alliances formed and reformed in the span of breaths. I reveled in the tumult, knowing that every decision made in this chamber would ripple outwards, shaping the future of Westeros for years to come. But in the back of my mind, a nagging thought lingered. What if it was all for naught? What if they turned against me? Yet in that moment, I pushed the doubts aside and focused on the task at hand. With the kingdom hanging in the balance, I had to act decisively. As the discussions raged on, I felt a surge of hope amidst the uncertainty. I could not allow fear to dictate the fate of my people. In the depths of the Red Keep, I found clarity. "Together, we will not only survive, but thrive," I declared, my voice resonating through the hall. And as the meeting drew to a close, I knew that I had not only secured the loyalty of the lords, but had also reaffirmed my own purpose. If this story haunts you as much as it haunts me, subscribe to hear the next chapter of the hidden histories of Westeros, a world where every whisper can alter the course of fate. This was not merely a story of survival. It was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, a reminder that in the darkest of places, hope can take root and flourish if one dares to fight for it.